on Game Plan.
Drops back under pressure, and he's going to be taken down.
The Saints have exercised their Minnesota Demons, and now the only undefeated team left in the NFL awaits.
It's exciting. It's a great challenge. But here's the thing. It's one game. And yes, it's a big game. Yes, it's against a great opponent who is undefeated and is playing exceptionally well right now.
We're breaking down a matchup that looks to go a long way in deciding home field advantage in the playoffs. Plus, see a film breakdown of Eli Apple's debut. Find out what makes the Rams so unstoppable, and we make sense of all the big trades made around the NFL.
From Fox 8 Sports, this is Game Plan. Sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealers. Home of the best-selling truck 41 years straight.
Two of the NFC's best teams meeting inside the Superdome Sunday. Yes, please. What a sports weekend we have in store. Welcome to Game Plan with Don the Magic Juan Kincaid. I'm Sean Fazan.
It's certainly going to be a magical weekend for football here in South Louisiana. LSU and Bama in BR. Saints and Rams in the Dome. It's like a buffet of pig skin. And the one thing we'll know by the end of the weekend, the winner will be in the driver's seat on their trek to the playoffs.
It's exciting. It's a great challenge. But here's the thing. It's one game. And yes, it's a big game. Yes, it's against a great opponent who is undefeated and is playing exceptionally well right now. But for us, it's just another opportunity for us to take the next step to continue to improve. I like the track that we're on, but we can still get better.
The Saints will have to scramble their defense again now that they've lost rookie defensive end Marcus Davenport for reportedly a month with a toe injury. Davenport suffered the injury against the Vikings, but still managed to get a couple of sacks on Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins. Meanwhile, the Rams are good, really good. They haven't lost a game this season and look like the best team in the entire NFL.
So in order for the Saints to pull off a stunner, they'll have to bring their best.
Led by prodigy coach Sean McVay, the Rams are red hot.
Will he find the end zone? He will again.
McVay is considered one of the brightest young offensive minds in the game.
I'm a huge fan of Sean's and have gotten to know him and have a ton of respect for what he's done, going on his second year, especially with what he had when he went in there.
The Rams lead the league in total yards, and their trigger man is Jared Goff, who's third in the NFL in passing yards and has 17 touchdown passes on the year. His receivers are Robert Woods, Brandon Cooks, and Cooper Kupp. Todd Gurley is one of the best running backs in football. He leads the league in rushing with 800 yards and added 31 catches on the season. He has 15 total touchdowns.
We talk about what Todd Gurley's bringing to the table. I don't think there's a better running back in the game right now, minus R2.
Whether it be Todd Gurley rushing for, 200 yards like he did against Denver, or Jared Goff throwing the ball all over the yard for 4 touchdowns. So when you look at them, they don't really have any weak points.
Defensively, the Rams added another piece to their front four when they traded for Dante Fowler this week. They also have former LSU Tiger Michael Brockers. Their best player is right in the middle of the line, Aaron Donald, who has 10 sacks on the season. Next to him is Ndamukong Suh. It's the type of interior D-line Drew Brees hasn't seen in quite some time.
Not since we played the University of Georgia in 1999, the 99 season in the Outback Bowl, and it was Marcus Stroud and Richard Seymour. Yeah, that was a pretty stout defensive interior front, but no, at this level, it's really unheard of.
Now, the last time the Saints beat an 8-0 team inside the Superdome was back in 2012 when they knocked off the, wait for it, Atlanta Falcons. 30 birds.
30 birds.
Indeed.
They had to play almost perfect football, too. They'll have to do the same thing this weekend. But the last 2 weeks, the Saints offense had to figure things out against pretty stout defenses in the Ravens and Vikings, and they did. Sean, this week, it'll be their defense's turn as they'll have to figure out how to slow down the Rams' versatile offense. And that begins with being able to affect quarterback Jared Goff on first down. The Packers were able to get him off his spot last Sunday, sacking him once and keeping his passing numbers down. Despite being 8-0, the Rams' struggles on first down remain a concern for head coach Sean McVay.
I thought the first down efficiency is what made it difficult for us to get some drives going, where when you're not efficient on first down, then you're in second and long and third and longs, and that ends up being difficult. I think that's something we've done extremely well up to this point.
I find it amazing that first down or any down is a problem for this Rams offense. They're so talented on that side of the ball that opposing defenses can't just pick their poison like they try to do with the Saints.
Yeah, and look, you got to remember Ty Gurley as well, one of the best running backs in football, but also an effective catcher out the backfield.
You're right. Think of their game last week against the Packers. All of those receiving weapons, but it was Gurley that led them in both receptions and receiving yards. Maybe more of the focus on first down should be on getting the ball in his hands. It seems like there's nothing he's not doing right now.
Yeah, he is the all-around player, no doubt about that. Still to come, let's talk tape, Juan.
Hey, why not?
This week, I shine the spotlight on cornerback Eli Apple's debut with the black and gold.
The black and gold.
You're watching Game Plan, sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealers, home of the best-selling truck 41 years straight.
As soon as the Saints made the trade for Eli Apple last week, the question became, will he play against Minnesota?
And guess what? He did play a lot. In fact, he played all but 5 snaps on defense, and the film showed a mixed bag of results in his first action as a Saint.
Apple's first play from scrimmage went against Adam Thielen. He's in off coverage, but gets beat rather easily on the deep out route for a Minnesota first down. Later in the drive, again in off coverage against Thielen. This time, though, he's able to read Thielen's route from underneath and stays with him for solid coverage. The next play, the Vikings are in a stack formation. The Saints are playing off in what looks to be a zone concept. Apple does a nice job of reading the number 2 receiver, Laquan Treadwell, and guards the slot fade route. Around the goal line now, Apple is in press coverage on Stephon Diggs. He does a nice job of jamming him at the line of scrimmage and doesn't allow him to cleanly run his fade route. But on the very next play, again in press, he doesn't jam Treadwell, who gets open on the slant. Kirk Cousins didn't throw his way, but Treadwell was indeed open. Now, his biggest bust came in the second quarter. While playing off, Apple bites hard on the flea flicker, which lets Thielen get behind him. But if you look at the play, Treadwell is actually more open in the middle of the field.
No one expected Apple to have a perfect debut. He had some good plays and some not so good ones, but he did lead the team in tackles with 9 and didn't look completely out of place.
One thing Drew Brees always says, time on task. It goes to the cornerbacks as well. He'll get better as they go along here. Meanwhile, communication is key for the quarterback on both the offense and defense, and we got a better understanding of just how important it is for the sideline to be able to communicate with their play caller from Deuce McAllister, of all people. The former Saints running back never wore the helmet with the headset in it, but he was around enough quarterbacks to know just how much crowd noise can affect the opposing team when it comes to relaying information. Deuce believes a loud dome field advantage will be key on Sunday.
The team that you're going to play next, they use it really, really a lot. And so one of the things that you've seen Jared Goff, him be able to excel is because he gets up to the line of scrimmage so early. And so he's got McVay talking to him up until that earpiece cuts off. And it's normally around 15 seconds that it cuts off. And so for a defense, if you've got a really good understanding of a scheme and what you're trying to do, you want to check after that number cuts off. And so Jonathan Vilma was really, really good at it, being able to line those guys up and then go into another formation or another play.
And this is why it's helpful to have a quarterback like Drew Brees who can not only process what's being told to him through his headset, but once it's turned off as well at the 15-second mark. That kill sign that he often gives means the play call is all from him from that point on. That's a huge advantage when you have a quarterback like him that can think on his feet.
He is always in control no matter the situation. Still to come, will Sunday's winner be on the fast track to NFC supremacy? Luke Johnson of NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune, joins us in studio to discuss.
You're watching Game Plan, sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealers, home of the best-selling truck 41 years straight.
Definitely evenly matched football game. I think, it's going to be interesting how they try to match up with Todd Gurley. I mean, he's a young man that can hurt you running the football. He's a young man that can hurt you as a receiver as well. So you have to know where he's at. They have some other weapons, Cooks, We're obviously familiar with him. So if Cooper Kupp is back, he's going to be a problem in the slot. So you have to be ready and prepared to match up against this Rams team.
Saints Hall of Famer Deuce McAllister will be with us Sunday morning at 10 a.m. to preview the game, and Sunday night at 10:30 to wrap it all up. Come Monday, you can catch him as usual, 8 a.m., 5 p.m., and 10:35. All of that right here on Fox 8. Always nice to have with us Luke Johnson from NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune. He's one of the beat writers that cover the Saints on a weekly basis. When you look at this game, there's so much hype surrounding it, but the first thing I think about is that the winner of this game kind of jumps into the driver's seat as having a leg up on getting the #1 seed.
Yeah, I think so.
Is it too early to talk that?
I don't think so.
Yeah, okay.
I think it is. The #1 seed, it could very well be decided in this game, and I don't think it's too early to talk about that. I think you look at the schedules for both of these remaining teams. I think they're favorable for both of them, you get this head-to-head win. I think it could go a long way in deciding who gets home field throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree, and I've said this many times on our shows. The Saints actually need this win because of their ultra-tight lead in the NFC South. They only have a 1-game lead over Carolina, who's really playing well right now. So not only could it help them seeding in terms of getting that first seed home field advantage, but it could also help them kind of keep this lead in the NFC South, because if they fall, all of a sudden you could be tied atop the NFC South, so you're not even talking about leading your division at that point. So it's a very important game for the Saints.
The Rams have an offense that looks an awful lot like the Saints. There is talent all over the field, but I believe it begins with being able to slow down Todd Gurley.
Yeah, look, he's worth every penny that he paid. He got that big contract in the offseason, worth every penny. 800 yards rushing, 31 catches, 15 total touchdowns. The guy just gets the ball into the end zone. Good luck trying to stop him, because they do a great job of utilizing him as a guy who can catch the ball, a power back, kind of a shifty back. He does a lot of different things well. So I think that's where you have to start if you're the Saints defense. It doesn't guarantee you anything, but the one thing you've done all season is stop the run well. So I think that's where you have to start for the Saints defense.
Yeah, I think it starts and ends with Todd Gurley. The guy is just a machine. He scored 15 touchdowns, which is 5 more than the next closest guy. I think if you can find a way to be the first team this year to kind of neutralize him and limit his impact, I think you can win by making Jared Goff have to beat you.
And that may be tough as well, because Jared Goff has been really good this year.
Yes.
17 touchdowns, I think 4 picks, something like that. But he's been fantastic, nice with the ball. So all of a sudden, emphasis goes to the secondary again with the Saints. On that right side with Eli Apple and P.J. Williams. P.J. had a nice bounce back in that game. Apple didn't show you much, but it was his first game with the team. Is that where the eyeballs have to be on right now for this defense?
Yeah, I think it has to be until they prove something there. And you talking about a Rams receiving core that has a deep threat in Brandon Cooks, a great kind of intermediate guy in Robert Woods, and a really good inside slot receiver in Cooper Kupp. And that's 3 guys that can all hurt you in different ways. And the Saints are going to have their hands full. And I think every week going forward, this is going to be the biggest question with them until they prove they can stop somebody the caliber of Los Angeles.
Yeah, and as I've said, I mean, that's the cleanest way to beat the Saints. That's the truest, non-flukiest way to beat the Saints, is through the explosive play on offense. And until they prove they can effectively shut down the explosive play, that's going to always be one of those question marks where you say, can they handle this? Can they limit that? Now, I'll say this. It only caught them once, right? First week of the season, where the explosive play caused a loss. Yeah. So they've been able to at least contain that somewhat, but still, this group, another group of talented wide receivers, so it's not going to be easy for the Saints secondary. And I want to see Eli Apple get a little bit better from last week to this week.
We talk about play calls. We know how good Sean Payton has been over the years. It seems to me Sean McVay may be the second coming of a play caller in this league next to Sean Payton.
Yeah, I said on the radio show earlier this week, that's his mini-me. I mean, they're kind of the same type, smaller college quarterbacks. I believe they both played quarterback in college. They seem to live offensive football, not afraid to try new things, not afraid to try different formations. So I'm sure Sean Payton sees a lot in Sean McVay. They also have great first names. It's the best name to me in the English language.
Oh, I wonder why you think that.
I don't even know how to respond to that. I think you look at those 2 coaches, and they are willing to change it up, and they're willing to try something new and be a little risky. And I think that's what sets them apart from some of their counterparts.
So the Rams just added Dante Fowler because their defense needed some pieces. Is there a better front 4 in the NFL right now than what they have now with the addition of Fowler going in there?
Certainly not one that's taken greater investments. number 2 overall pick in Ndamukong Suh, number 10 overall pick in Aaron Donald, who for like 2 days was the highest paid NFL player in NFL history. Number, I think, 14 overall pick, Michael Brockers.
That 4 first-round picks.
Fowler was a number 3 overall pick. I mean, and those guys have all lived up to their pre-draft hype. This is going to be the most talented group they face.
Absolutely, but the Saints' offensive line has been elite. I don't think they've gotten enough credit this year, particularly at the tackles with Ryan Ramczyk and Teron Armstead, to me, playing better than any pair of tackles in the NFL. So that is another matchup to watch. Who wins that line of scrimmage battle?
So do you believe the Rams' plan of attack defensively is to pressure over top of the center? I mean, that's where Breeze has his most troubles.
You look at Suh, you look at Donald, and I think those are easily the 2 best defensive tackles as a pair in the league. I know Drew Brees even said, I haven't seen that dynamic duo like that since college. So it's always been kind of a vulnerability with Brees. If you can get pressure in his face, it's where he struggles most. So yes, Warford, Unger, and Andrews, people have their work cut out for them.
Playing at home is always a wonderful thing for the Saints, but I wonder, after talking to Deuce McAllister last week, he talked about the whole advantage that teams have and don't have with the communication in the helmets, and how the dome field advantage can be an advantage for the Saints. A loud crowd. Do you think it could be a difference maker in this game? 70,000 plus in that stadium, getting loud, disrupting the communication between the Rams sideline and their quarterback.
I absolutely think it can be, and I think it's shown in the past that it has been. And the big thing is when you're talking about these high-flying offenses coming in, a lot of that is relying on communication, and that can definitely throw it off, especially when Saints get off to a fast start and people can kind of get behind that.
The Saints destroyed Washington. They destroyed Washington, and I'm not sure they're that much better than Washington. Basically what happened, though, I mean, they got a little mesmerized. Their crowd kind of took over and got them out of their element. So we've seen that time and time again, where very good teams come into that stadium, the crowd is rocking, and they get overwhelmed by the atmosphere. Now, I will say this: the Rams have road games even when they're at home. If you saw that game last week against the Packers, there were more Packers fans than more Rams fans. So I think they're built for the kind of the road, test. But still, when the dome is rocking, it can really impact an opponent.
And it's going to be rocking this weekend, 70,000 plus. Hey, it's Luke Johnson. When he walks in the room, about 70,000 plus are cheering as well, right?
That's right. That's the way I like to do it.
There you go. Thanks, Luke. We appreciate it. The Rams and Saints weren't the only teams that made trades before the NFL's deadline. Coming up, Chris Hagan looks at the fantasy football ramifications from all of the big moves.
Game Plan is sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealers. You're watching Game Plan, sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealers, home of the best-selling truck 41 years straight.
Aaron Brooks got the Saints to the playoffs back in 2000 and led them to their first playoff win later that season. But my, how things have changed since then, Sean.
It has become the best. Repeat, the best move the Saints have ever made. But back in 2006, signing Drew Brees was not an easy call.
It's always a little risky. Sometimes you don't sleep at night worrying about it. But I look back on it now, and I thank goodness that that I did that.
Thursday night, after football, I will introduce you to a man behind the scenes who played one of the most pivotal roles in bringing Brees to New Orleans. Don't miss History-Making Call, Thursday on Fox 8.
Time now for keys to the game. The Rams may be undefeated, but they're not unstoppable. Check out Jared Goff's stats in the closer games they've had. He's completing less than 60% of his passes and getting sacked nearly 4 times per game. In the contest decided by less than 7 points. In their more comfortable wins, he is more comfortable, only getting sacked about once per game and completing almost 73% of his throws. Week 9 of the NFL season is the start of the second half of the year.
But in the fantasy world, it's 1 week closer to the playoffs. Chris Hagan now with how to approach this crucial slate of games in this week's Extra Point.
Entering Week 9, this is just about the point where some fantasy teams are clearly playoff bound and others, maybe the one-win crowd, can go ahead and take that L. But if you're in the middle and could go either way, it's not too late to catch fire and make a run to your league's playoffs. Ironically, NFL teams in real life trying to do the same thing ahead of this week's trade deadline could have had a big impact on your fantasy football outlook. Let's examine The move that I think affects most players is Golden Tate to the Eagles. He was Detroit's leading pass catcher, and his targets can be dispersed among the remaining Lions in several ways. The most obvious impact is giving Marvin Jones Jr. and Kenny Golladay more targets. It was far more balanced between the three of them than last year, but now the roles of Jones and Golladay should grow significantly, which is great news for their owners. Tate's value, however, may be hurt a little bit. Even though he wasn't dominating the target share, he still made his living in PPR leagues catching a lot of screens and short passes. He joins an Eagles offense where tight end Zach Ertz dominates receptions with 61 so far this year, tied for second in the NFL. While Tate's addition may not hurt Ertz, I don't see it boding well for Alshon Jeffrey or Nelson Aguilar, the latter of which is probably now disposable on your roster. Last week's big trade of Amari Cooper to the Cowboys is also relevant, and we'll see how it comes to fruition on Sunday against Tennessee. Cooper hadn't seemed quite right in that Oakland offense the last year and a half, so here's to hoping new scenery gives him a boost. It could also make quarterback Dak Prescott more of an option in deep leagues. Another big one, Demaryius Thomas to the Texans. With Houston losing Will Fuller for the rest of the year, it gives them another legitimate Pro Bowl caliber threat at receiver. For those wondering if it hurts the stock of DeAndre Hopkins, I don't think it does at all. Hopkins is matchup proof, and Deshaun Watson trusts him to make every catch thrown his way all over the field. This move benefits Thomas more than anything, going into an offense that loves to air it out. However, time will tell how it affects Denver's Emmanuel Sanders. Without Thomas, teams may try to key in on Sanders a little more, but it also opens the door for rookie receiver Courtland Sutton. And finally in Pittsburgh, the fallout from the Steelers not being able to trade Le'Veon Bell is twofold. If he wants this season to count and become a free agent next year, he has to play at least 6 games. That means 1, there's still hope for his owners if they're playoff bound, and 2, there's danger for teams that have been propped up and leaning on James Conner. When Bell returns, we don't know what Conner's role will still be. It'll be interesting to keep an eye on, but one thing is for sure. The high-scoring fantasy year we've had so far will continue to be unpredictable. Reporting for Game Plan, I'm Chris Hagan.
Our coverage certainly doesn't stop here. Lots more football on Fox 8 this week. Tomorrow night, Raiders and 49ers. Friday, we switch to the high school gridiron for Fox 8 Football Friday at a special regular season finale time of 10:18. Do you know that?
10:18.
10:18. Sunday morning, wake up with us on Fox 8 Live Tailgate at 10. The Saints and Rams will kick off at 3:25. Our reports begin on Fox 8 News at 9, leading up to the final play at 10:30. After that, you can catch league-wide coverage on NFL Game Day Prime from Fox Sports.
And of course, you can always get in touch with us using the Final Word feature on the
Final Play app.
That will do it for us tonight, Juan. Thank you for watching Game Plan. Thanks to everyone here at Fox 8 for their contributions. Our next newscast is at 4:30 in the morning. Good night, everyone.
Shalom.
From Fox 8 Sports, this has been Game Plan, sponsored by your Southern Quality Ford dealers, home of the best-selling truck 41 years straight.